Daddy Bakes. I'm Big Daddy, and today we're going to be making hamburger buns. Sometimes at the store, the hamburger buns are kind of soft and squishy, and if you put a juicy burger on it, they just fall apart. Well, these don't do that. They're very sturdy, soft, and very delicious. So, let's get to it. I'll show you how to do it. For this recipe, you will need 3½ cups of flour. That's about 420 grams. You're going to need 3/4 of a cup of warm water at 105 degrees, 2 tablespoons of butter, softened, 1 large egg that's at room temperature, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Now I cut this down to 1/8 of a cup because I like my rolls a little less sweet, but you can go all the way up to 1/2 cup if you like, if you want a little sweeter. 1½ teaspoons of salt, and a packet of instant yeast. Alright, we're going to start our dough, and I'm going to start out with adding the water to the bowl of our processor, and then I'm going to add the sugar. And I'm going to vigorously stir that around. Alright, then I'm going to add my flour. I'm going to add an egg. I'm going to add my salt. I'm going to add my softened butter. And last thing I'm going to add is my yeast. I'm going to add my packet of yeast, and then put on my paddle here. And we are going to let this knead for 6 to 8 minutes, and I'll look at it and we'll decide if we want to go a little bit farther. It needs to be a soft dough. The 3/4 cup of water should be good for kind of humid days, but if it's very dry, you can up that almost up to a cup of water. You want a nice soft dough. So if you're looking at this and it looks really dry, then add a little bit more water at the start of this. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes or so, and the dough is very much the way I want it. I like it to be soft and silky, and that's what this is. So I'm going to put this into a bowl with some oil sprayed in it. I'm going to let it rise until it's doubled in bulk. That will take roughly an hour to an hour and a half. So our dough has risen, it's doubled in volume. I'm going to take that out. Try to get it roughly even, both sides. And I'm going to make this into 8. So if I do halves and then halves. I should get roughly little dough balls that are about the same. And then I'm going to do this little trick where I'm going to just the palm of my hand, I'm going to roll it together. So let me show you how. Let's do this correctly. I'm going to pull it taut on itself, then I'm going to roll it. And it makes a perfect little round. And I'm going to put them on my baking tray. So one more time, just using the friction between the board and the dough. And there we go. So I'm going to do the rest of these and I'll see you at the end. So at this point, you could just bake these just as they are, and you would have lovely dinner rolls. And they would taste wonderful, and your guests would really enjoy them. But I want hamburger buns, so I'm going to treat them a little differently. So I'm going to squash them down till they're flat. But round. So they're going to rise upwards. I'm going to let these proof for an hour to an hour and a half until they resemble hamburger buns. They'll puff up. I just like to spread them out a little bit so we get the initial. Alright, so I'm going to let them sit out hour, an hour and a half. I'm going to cover them with some plastic wrap, and then we'll see what they look like in an hour to an hour and a half. If they've risen up and they're puffy and they look great, then I'll bake them. So here are our buns. They have risen and they look great. So what I'm going to do is, I've got an egg that I beat with about a tablespoon of water, and I'm just going to brush it very carefully over all the tops. This will give the buns a dark, shiny, beautiful color. So just give it all over. Alright, that looks good. I'm going to bake them in a 375 oven for about 15 to 18 minutes. I'll look and see. They should be dark and shiny and sound hollow when you tap them. So here are our buns. They're out of the oven. They're a beautiful golden brown, top and bottom, and they're still quite soft, so they'll be lovely with a hamburger. I'm going to let these cool. It'll take about an hour, and then they'll be ready for eating. Thank you so much for joining us here on Big Daddy Bakes. If you like what we do on the channel, please consider subscribing. Also, share with a friend. Thank you so much. Of flour, 1 kitten. Honestly, it's like having an anaconda.